Hi there and welcome back to Wade's Workshop. This is Quick Change Tool Post episode 12. We're getting there now. We'll name it, we're getting there now I think. No, we'll name it Quick Change Tool Post episode 12. When we left off, we were looking at a position for drilling the 8mm hole in the cam to take the handle. I've done that, I did film it, I've bought a new camera and I was taking photographs rather than recording. So I'm getting used to the new camera. It seems to cope with the light better in my workshop. It's all a big learning curve. We're getting there. Right, so the handle is fitted, the quick change tool post right up to the stage where I need to start making tool holders is done. I'll give you a shot onto that as it stands. I had a little mishap with one of the handles. I tightened it up in my vise. Need to buy some soft jaws for my vise, for my bench vise. And as I was rotating it, I did have it sort of wrapped in a cloth and it scored up the surface of the shaft. So I put a series of grooves in the shaft that removes the score, and yeah, it looks pretty anyway, so I'll show you that. And that's where I am at the moment. So our next procedure will be to get on and make up one tool holder so that we can actually give it a try out and set the cams, set the length of the pistons and so on. So I'll bring you in and show you the tool post as it stands. So here we are, all fitted up on the tool post. The locking screw locks off the block itself, no problem. The handle will be here, hoping to be somewhere between there unlocked and there locked, well out of the way when it's locking up the front tool. And it should be around there, loosen off that one, oh, not that far, and about there, that position, out of the way of the tailstock when it locks up the main one. My thinking was to have the handle, you know, it'd be no good being over here with the tailstock and all the rest. That position there would be locked for this front tool, or side tool, and back here somewhere to lock up the tool that's on the front. So yeah, that's where I am. As you can see, a set of grooves in the handle I was speaking about earlier. Yeah, it looks alright. It feels really nice in the hand, and as you can see, there's a good gap between the two levers. You know, you're not going to just trap your fingers or anything like that. It's very simple to work. No problem at all. So that's where we are. Next step, get on and make some tool holders. So looking through my materials, all I could find that's sort of semi-suitable is a piece of inch square EN8 bar. It's inch square and I've hacksawed off just over 60mm, 62, 63mm, something like that, as you can see. I think I'll make my final ones out of a larger material, my tool holders, but this one is my sacrificial one, shall we call it, that will probably be turned into a DTI holder. I've got a piece of inch square EN8, which I'm going to start with that. I'm going to be doing this in a 4-jaw chuck. Just a little mention I'll bring up while I'm doing it. On the headstock, on the ring here, is stamped, well, it might be a letter O or the number 0. Is 0 a number? Yes, okay, there's a 0 stamped on. Now, as you can appreciate, the chuck will go on one of 3 ways. It has 3 studs. The 3-jaw chuck has a matching letter 0, or number 0, whatever, and if I line up the 2 zeros, fit the chuck, that's where it's at its most accurate. It will go on, you know, out 1/3, as it were, 120 degrees out, and 240 out, so on and so forth. But it will physically fit and go on okay, but I do get slight run out in the chuck. So when I line up the 2 zeros on the 3-jaw chuck and on the headstock, it runs absolutely fine, as I've discussed before. The 4-jaw chuck that came with the lathe, came in a cardboard box, in the packaging, didn't have a register 0 on it. So when I first tried it, I thought, well, okay, put it on, had a look, put a clock on the outside, and it was running out maybe a thou. Turned it round one section, still running out a thou. Turned it round again, yeah, 3rd time lucky, 3 ways it'll go, and it was the 3rd time. 3rd time, I found that it was running absolutely spot on. Now, it's not critical that the chuck runs spot on, it's just nice to have it that way, because obviously you're clocking up in a 4-jaw. So once I'd found that spot, where is it? I put just a little centre pop mark on the chuck. So when I fit my 4-jaw, I always line up the centre pop mark with the letter 0, and I know it's in its best position. So there we are, let's get on with it. So I'm going to mix it up a little bit. A couple of ways I could square this block up, not having a milling machine. I could use my milling slide, fly cut all the faces, which you've seen me do before on the tool post block itself. This time I'm going to use a 4-jaw chuck and actually turn all the faces square and true, so that I've got, you know, basically a square block, flush on the ends, machined to a size and what have you. So I'm going to machine it in the 4-jaw chuck this time, all the flat faces in the 4-jaw. So just to mix it up a bit, make it a bit of a change of scenery, so to speak. So yeah, so this is a piece of EN8 inch square. Just lock off my carriage. Somewhere near. Touch off. I haven't clocked this up, it's just clamped fairly centrally in the 4-jaw chuck. As you saw, I had to hacksaw this off. I normally would have cut it off with like a 1mm cutting disc in my 4.5 inch grinder. I haven't got a bandsaw or anything like that. But I haven't got any cutting discs left, they're all worn down. So, hacksaw it was. Never mind, didn't take long. Probably about 4 or 5 minutes. Nearly there, I can see I need a touch more off there. Just cleaning up this face, and we'll flip it round, do the other end to a size. Have a look at that. Yep, that's cleaned up. So flick it round the other way, do the other end. No time like the present. Back hard against the chuck, I think, this time. My overall length, I'm going for a nominal 60mm, which is the width of the tool block, maximum width of the tool block. I'll just clean this up, see where we are. Running about 650 or something like that. Probably a little bit faster than that actually. It's intermittent cut, and I'm using carbide, it's not ideal. I think this is probably my hacksaw cut, it's not very square. Take about 1/2 mil, clean it up like that. Okay. No, it's only half cleaned up, but let's get it size. Just loosen my carriage off. Get that tip against the chuck. Now, tool post sit in the chuck rather than the tip. There's my 0. As I say, I'm looking for about 60mm. And on my DRO, it's reading about 62 at the moment. 61 and a half. Yeah, that's about where I am. Let's go 1/2 mil a cut. 61. Hot little bits of swarf jumping down your shirt. Not nice. Where are we? 61 mil at the moment. That tool is not quite on centre. It's very near, but not quite. I'll get away with it. 60.5. I'll leave point 1. That's 60mm on the DRO. Nice gentle cut to finish. I use this method quite a lot where I measure back from the chuck, and it's normally within about 0.1 of a mil of this, 60 in this case. In fact, that's the 60, that's the finished size according to that. Let's have a little measure. Oh, calipers has gone to sleep. $59.78, so 0.2. Oh, well, maybe. Stand corrected. 59.8. Okay, I'm more than happy with that. I mean, it's in fresh air, the two ends. So that's the block to length. I'm going to reverse 2 jaws, fit it back up in the chuck, and machine one face. Flick it round 180, back in, machine the other face. Once that will give me 4 faces, and then I'll literally flick it round another 90 degrees, back in, and machine all 4 faces. And I'll try and make it exactly square so I know where I am. So just setting it up now. Give all the jaws just a little nip. Make sure we're back against the step in the jaw, and finish all 4 jaws off. There we go. So next step's going to be machine this face. Okay, I'll show you that. May have to skew my tool post a little, I think. Okay, let's just do that. Try that again, shall we? There we go. Put a cat on. About 900 RPM, something like that. Where are we? Yep, that's cleaned up one face. So I'll flick it round now. Machine the other face exactly opposite to a size. Clean up, and I'll probably go 0.1 under clean up. It should work out the same both ways. Set a 0 as to where that second cut was, and I'll do the same when I come to do the other 2 faces, the same finishing cut, so that my block stays square. We're just on the final side now. That'll leave 0.1. So I cleaned up both sides 90 degrees round. As I cleaned up the second side, I set my DRO to 0. Then I cleaned up the one on the 5th side, so to speak, flicked it round, and now I'm going to do exactly the same dimension by coming into 0 again on the DRO. So that'll keep the block square, so that it measures the same in both directions, so to speak, as opposed to rectangular. The block is beaten back with my copper knocker here against copper. It's not copper, it's brass. My brass knocker against the jaws of the chuck, which are square, so it should keep the 4 sides of that all 90 degrees to each other and exactly the same on the ends. So it's just a different way of blocking up without a miller you can block up, as long as your lathe has the capacity, you can block up in the lathe. So pretty much that is now that block blocked up, shall we call it. All the sides are parallel and square to each other, so to speak. Bit of a deburr around all the edges now, and we'll think about where we're going to mill it. On that note, the lathe will turn material off a lot quicker than you can fly cut it or mill it off with a milling cutter using a milling attachment. I know on my block that there's going to be a square cutout in here. Let's get a Sharpie pen before I put the dovetail cutter in, so to speak. And it's going to look something like that to fit on the dovetail, and then obviously I will then machine out the dovetail shapes in the corner afterwards. So if I know the smallest size or the root of the dovetail, I know it's going to be 7mm deep, so what I could do is basically bore this out to within a couple of 0.2 of depth, something like that. Bore it out from the center. The edges will be curved, I know, but that will leave very little material for milling to flatten those faces off. So it'll leave a recess in there, basically a bore with the edges open. So what I'm going to do is turn that out of there to remove the most of the material before I start milling it, and it'll just speed things up a little. So that's my next step.